Right now, we are in the shop on the other side of the door, and you can see our little, actually a large sign showing you that we are serious about wearing safety glasses with side shields. And we have a spot where we keep them. Normally it's full of glasses, but at this point there's only the other machinist and I working in here, so we don't really wear these. We'll collect them and have them ready for any classes that ever come in once we're back to normal. This is one of our drill presses. We have 3 here in the shop, and one of the main things is that we would like to make sure that everything is safe when you're drilling. Drills can tend to catch things, and it may tend to spin the part around, and it could hurt someone. So what we like to see is people clamping items down as they drill holes through them, or using this type of a clamp. It's another type of very quick, easy way to clamp something down. Simply bring it to its position and then tighten it up. Also, making sure that the machine is not unlocked. We need to make sure that everything is properly done. And as in some of the later videos, you'll learn the proper speeds to use for a drill. But when you want to lock the table from swiveling, this is to allow it to go up and down as well. There's a handle there to do that. But we need to make sure that when we're finished, when we move it to our position, we lock it. Make sure that we're not able to have things float around. This machine is our pedestal drill press. We have several in the shop, and it is quite useful drilling. We have, later on in the videos of lathe and mill, we'll go over the proper speeds to use. But as far as changing speeds on this drill press, it has several pulley speeds to use. We raise the top. Underneath the top cover, we have a chart with a list of speeds. And how it works is we have an alpha pulley, the first one to the left, A, B, C, D, and we have a number set 1, 2, 3, 4. The center one is an intermediate pulley, and how we adjust things is we loosen the lock on this side and the other side of the machine. There are 2 of these locks, and with this handle, the pulley will be brought in on the motor pulley will be brought in, and from there you can switch the belts to whichever position you like, whether it be A4, B4, A3, C4. The top speed is 2270. You may not be able to reach the top speed that you're recommended to use, but it is quite useful. So we'll bring that back down. Around to the front of the machine now, we have visible, we have an on and off switch. You need to make sure that your hair is, if you have long hair, make sure it's tied back, or wear a hair net. Long sleeves are a no-no in anywhere near a drill press. Obviously the drill could catch your clothing and pull you in. But to insert a drill, we hand tighten, and then there's a chuck key on the left side of the machine. Tighten it up and make sure that we return the chuck key so the next person can find it. We have a handle on the side to lower the quill and drill down to the work. Make sure that you don't drill into our table, or if you're holding a part in a vise, that you don't drill into the vise either. There's a spot on this vise that I have my part a ledge on both sides that keeps it up in the air, so when the drill breaks through, it doesn't do any damage to the vise itself. And if you're doing anything without a vise, be sure to clamp your part onto a sacrificial piece of wood. This way we don't drill into the table. So if I were to drill a hole into this piece, I'll locate it into the position I like. There are two handles on the back on the main that hold the table to the main column. When you loosen these, the whole table swivels to your desired place. Make sure that you tighten them to make sure that things don't start freely floating and moving where you may not want them to go. That's tight. I have a clamp. It's like a vice grip type. You bring it down and adjust it, clamp it, and should move your part tight in place and allow you to drill without having anything caught by the drill and turning. If it's a big vise or something long, I tend to have it on the left side by the column because that's the direction it's turning. It only helps you if it does come loose. We also have another clamp. It's a Bessie clamp. It's a welding type clamp. It's very useful in the drill press. There is a long screw to tighten and an adjustment, a quick adjustment. So if I bring that and hold on to our little sacrificial piece of wood, bring it up by hand, hold on to it, and tighten up the screw, that locks it down. Okay. Now to drill, I've set the speed to C1, which is 1580 RPM. It's the second highest speed. I'm drilling into a piece of wood with a metal drill bit, which is rather unorthodox in a woodworking shop, but around here it's all basically the only kinds of drills that we have for this type of use. So I'll hit the start button, bring it down, and everything's nice and secure and tight. Drill, lift up, pet drilling we call this, and I've broken through. So now we've drilled a hole with the pedestal drill press. This is our radial arm saw. It is a very dangerous machine if you're not careful. What it has is a removable blade which you can use to cut across materials. You need to make sure that anything that you ever cut here is up against the backstop. Otherwise it could be taken and pulled away. The blade turns and will actually pull it that direction anyway, so it's about as safe as you can be to have it tight up against there and down. So how we would do that is we would bring it out, extend it out, and using the switch, there's a safety switch, you need to press that, and then the trigger on the machine, turn on the blade. So I'll bring this into my position and hold it steady. Make sure that you don't bring your hands in the way of the cutter, or the blade. There. And another way to cut would be to bring it into position and simply just and when you're finished, any scraps that you have, we have buckets available to dispose of them. This is our combination belt and disc sander. To use it, we'll need to hit the green button to start it up, obviously, but we have a rest as well. As we did on the radial arm saw, we like to have all of our materials down on the rest, or held securely. It's turning in a downward rotation. You can see by this arrow that it's going down. So if you push into it up here, it's probably going to pull it down. So be careful with that. The disc is turning in this direction as the arrow depicts. So you would probably want to stay on this side of the center. Otherwise, when you push on it, it could lift up. Right? So if I had a piece of, say, scrap, and we turn it on, I'll stay over here. Keep my hands away from the disc. And on this side, and simply press the stop button to turn it off. This is our vertical bandsaw, used for wood only. We have two, one is for metal, one is for wood. I'll go over some safety with the wood bandsaw. It would apply with the metal bandsaw as well to save some time. It just runs a little slower, the metal bandsaw, obviously, because you're cutting something harder. This will be very important that we don't bring any metal over here. It'll quickly ruin the blade. It's running a lot faster. So one of the main things is that if I'm cutting something here, I have a fence that I can bring. And it even has a graduated scale that we can read where we are. When you're here, you'll see this. But for now, I'll just set this in a position and walk it. And I need to make sure that this shoe is just slightly above my work. Now it can be adjusted fairly easily. There's a lock and an adjustment wheel here. So if it's way up there and you have something down this low, there's a big space where you could have your hand in a bad place. So we make sure that we have this shoe set properly. I bring it down until I touch and then bring it up about 3 millimeters or so, just to give me some space to work with. And when we use it, there is the start button on the control. But before we do that, we need to disengage the stop or the power reset button. That's just the way this one works. And when you're using this saw, we like you to use a push stick rather than your hands. And sometimes I see some folks using two push sticks. One to push it up against the fence and one to... I think that's probably safer than using your hand. So whatever way you can manipulate it, make it work, the better. Okay, so we turn it on. Push it. And hit the red reset button to stop the machine. Wait until the machine stops before you reach in and take things out, just to be safe. This board is rather warped, so as you can see, it's probably warped about 6 or 7 millimeters over its length. Be careful with items like that. Okay? And make sure that we keep the shoe at the proper height. Here is one of our very useful machines. It's a power shear. It's a shear that's been converted to power by means of hydraulic motor and tank that you can't see in this video, but The lines run up the wall and over to that. For it to work, we need to turn on the hydraulic motor, which I'll do right now. Okay. So to use this, we have a bit of a graduation on the table to give you an idea. I think they're about 1 inch apart in imperial measurement. But I'll show that in a minute. Right now, we'll set this up against something that we have set at 90 degrees to rest your part to make sure that the cut is 90 degrees to where to one side. And this is the strip. We call it a stripper. What you do is you lock your material down. The blade is like a guillotine. It will come down and it will cut your material, and this will hold it down tight while this happens. And as the blade goes back up, because it tends to, even though it's cut, it tends to pull the host material back upwards and bend it, that kind of thing. So to do that, first I'll show you obviously the scale to give you an idea. So that is the scale. They're rather faint, but the bar that aligns your work is quite easy to see. So, okay. I have a piece of steel that is the maximum thickness, and just as a demonstration, I'll cut this and set it up against one of our lines that we have on the table, just as an alignment, and put it down. So we actuate the top buttons and press the 2 toggles, the other toggles down. Bring it back up to allow the next person to use it, bring the material in, and that is a sheared cut, safely done. Find that 16 gauge is the thickest steel that we can cut in this shear, which would be approximately 1.5 millimeters thick. That's the maximum that we can use here. So when you're finished with this machine, I didn't show you how to turn on the hydraulic motor, but here it is. It's running right now, and we'll just shut that off. That is the power shear.